Hello and welcome to the video for your Module 2 Assignment 1 Values, Priorities, and Goals Alignment assignment. This video will walk you through the steps to complete your assignment successfully. Looking at the directions on Blackboard, starting with getting started. Be sure before you attempt this assignment that you've completed the 3 related study activities from the module. That's study activities 1, 2, and 3. As you're reading through study activity 2, there are 4 various links inside that activity that include values self-assessments. You'll want to complete at least one of those surveys, or there's also a popular alternative, which is through the Barrett's Value Center, and I'll show you that in just one moment. As you're completing these activities, make sure that you take note of your top 3 values. You're going to need those values for this week's assignment. And one of those values does need to be related to your college success. So of those 3 values, make sure that one is related to the college mindset. Before we go much further, I'll show you where to find those links, and then we'll come back here and have a look at your assignment for this module. On the screen now, you're seeing 2 different resources. On the left-hand side is the content reading for this week related to values. Here are the 4 various links that I mentioned previously that will help assess which values are most important to you. So either choose one or more of those self-assessments to review and note down your 3 top values. Or the other option is over here on the right-hand side of the screen. This is the link to the Barrett's Value Center. To begin this self-assessment, you would select your language, continue, type in your name and email address, agree to the terms, and continue to the next slide to pick your top 10 values, and they'll email you a detailed report of your results from that assessment. So select one or more of these options, write down your top 3 values, and then go back to your assignment to begin working on this week's activity. Also, before you begin this week's assignment, make sure that you're familiar with Module 2 Study Activity 2 and know how to write a specific SMART goal. You'll need that skill to be successful on this week's assignment. And also, Module 2 Study Activity 3 relates to priorities, which is the other link of this week's assignment pertaining to values, priorities, and goals. But once you've done all of that, select the assignment template file here that will download on your computer, and I have that pulled up for us over here on the right hand side of the screen, and this is where the majority of your work will take place during this week's assignment. So let's have a look at each of the following parts and start talking about how to score a perfect score on this assignment. Starting with values. It reads, your values are your core beliefs and your guiding principles. In Module 2, you had an opportunity to explore various values assessments. From your exploration, list your top 3 values below, with one value somehow related to your reason for going to college, or be at least college related. So in the input text boxes here, the blue value will relate to your college value. Values 2 and 3 are entirely up to you based off your results of those self-assessments. So include those values here for the first part of part 1, and then jump down to the second part beneath. Beneath the value section is where now you're going to provide your own definitions for what those values mean to you. So we're not looking for a textbook definition here, but rather if you selected achievement, what does achievement look like in your life? If you selected power or trust or wealth or family, if you ask 5 different students what each of those means, you'll get 5 different definitions. So what we're looking for here is your definition of those values. Provide that here in 2 to 3 sentences each, and then you have your values section complete. Move down to priorities. So where values are more internal beliefs of what makes you who you are, your priorities are the outward expression of those values. What you do in your day-to-day life that shows what is most important to you. So the relation here is to connect your values from part 1 to priorities in part 2 and demonstrate how you're using those values in your day-to-day life in the form of priorities. What do you do? If you selected health, do you spend a certain amount of time at the gym? If you selected wealth, do you spend a certain amount of time at work? If you selected family, how are you showing that family's a priority? What's your outward display of those values in the form of a priority? So these are all color-coded to link your original values from the first part of the assignment, so match those up. So priority 1 is going to be your value that was related to the college. So show me how you are using that as a priority in your life. Your responses here need to be between 2 and 3 sentences each. So make sure you're fulfilling that requirement for priority 1, priority 2, and priority 3. So you've got the values portion of this assignment set up. Priorities are the outward direction of those values, which leads us to the third part of the alignment. This is how you can tell if you're being successful in your pursuits. Are your values and your priorities lining up to get you to where you want to be in your life? And that's represented here in the goals. So for the goals, however, for this assignment, we only need to focus on your college-related values. So for the goal, we're going to take that and expand it into 3 different goals. It's going to be a general long-term goal, a specific SMART goal, as well as something that you can do today. And that's going to wrap up this assignment. So let's break those down piece by piece, keeping in mind that this section is only for your college-related goal. So on that general long-term goal, in about 2 to 3 sentences, identify a long-term goal that's related to your Value 1 college that you hope to achieve in the next 1 to 2 years. So where do you want to be 2 years from now? Are you finishing your AA degree? Are you starting your first semester at a different university? Are you applying for programs to get into a university? Are you starting a part-time job that's related to your associate's degree to help propel you into a future career with a bachelor's degree? So be specific here. Think about yourself individually and where you hope to be 2 years from now with your college education. Once you have that identified, you're going to move down now to the specific SMART goal. So SMART goal is an acronym. It stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and related to a time frame. And these need to be very clear and concise. So if you're not familiar with SMART, this is something that you can do by the end of the semester. So put a SMART goal in place that will get you one step closer to that long-term goal that you'll have completed by the end of the semester. So starting today, I'm going to start doing this in order to accomplish this by the end of the semester. What does that look like in your life? Once you have that identified, scroll down to the last part of the goal section, and this is today. One part of this process that students struggle with the most is simply getting started, and that leads to procrastination. So for this last section, provide 1 to 2 sentences about one single small step that you can accomplish in the next 24 hours. What can you do today? The smaller the better, but just to get some momentum started to get you closer and closer to where you eventually want to be. Provide 2 to 3 sentences here about your input for getting started on this activity and getting started on this long-term goal today, and finalize this section here. That concludes the file portion of this assignment, so be sure to save it correctly as your last name space first name module 2 assignment 1 document, and then go back over to Blackboard to review your rubric before you submit the assignment. Okay, so we have the rubric displayed on the right hand side of the screen. Pay close attention to this center column here, which goes over how students oftentimes lose points on each part of the assignment. For example, from part 1 of the template, student definitions were vague or less than 2 sentences in length. So be specific and provide at least 2 sentences. For part 2 on priorities, students lose credit when they don't provide the priorities and they don't adequately justify how those priorities are related to the values identified in part 1. So explain how they're related to the values that you've already put forth in part 1 of the assignment. And then have a look at part 3 as well. One example for losing points would be long-term goals are unrealistic, are not related to the college value, or written in less than 2 sentences. So have a look at your rubric before you submit. Make sure you're earning the full 25 points on this assignment. Your responses should match the credentials here in the first column, and that's how you get full credit. So good luck on your first assignment of Module 2. If you have any additional questions, reach out to your instructors, and otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you for the next video.